They say there's never a dull day as a college football fan, especially as a Husker fan, and that's lived up to be the case once again. The Pro Football Focus grades were just released for Nebraska versus Minnesota, and man, oh man, they were interesting to say the least. I'm going to give you my instant reaction. I'm not going to hold back who played well for the Huskers, who didn't, who needs to be benched going forward, and so much more, along with my reaction to all the firings from today, particularly at Florida, some recruits we should be going after, a 4-star defensive back who might get back in this class for the Huskers. You already know who that is. We'll discuss him, along with my final thoughts around the Minnesota game. Why, honestly, I think too many Husker fans are overreacting. We'll discuss that, the Northwestern game time, the AP poll, all the Big Ten games from yesterday, and their implications toward Nebraska, and so much more. So real quick, this is a loaded video. If you're having a good Sunday, because I know I am, hit that like button. And also, if you're a diehard Nebraska fan and you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for daily content talking your favorite team? For daily content talking Huskers you can't get anywhere else. It's no brainer. Takes 2 seconds. Join the family. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. But without further ado, we have a lot to talk about. Starting things off with the Pro Football Focus grades against Minnesota. They were, I'll just put it at interesting. We'll get in them, then we'll get to all the firings, all the recruiting news, and so much more. But let's start things off with Nebraska's defense versus the Gophers. This is arguably the better half of our team, right? Offense didn't play very well. Defense didn't play very well either, but arguably it did play better than the offense. So starting things off with the defensive line, who played well, who didn't. Our best graded defensive lineman, funny enough, Keona Davis actually had a pretty solid couple weeks. He played pretty solid versus both Michigan State and Maryland. He's finally settling in at defensive tackle. So Keona Davis earned a grade of a 70 on the day. The rest of the defensive line did not play very well. Elijah Judy got a grade of a 63, which is not too shocking. He's gotten better as the years went on, but still Elijah Judy overall is not a very good player at all. Williams-Neri had a grade of a 65, has really struggled these past 2 weeks. Cameron Lenhart had a grade of a 66. Gabe Moore, who I really like, Gabe Moore had a grade of a 31. Yikes. But I'm still very high on Gabe Moore. I think he has high raw upside. I think he could potentially start for Nebraska next year, but clearly he's still 1 year away. Riley Van Poppel got a grade of a 56. Riley Van Poppel's been absolutely horrendous. I'm at the point with Van Poppel where I don't think he can play anymore for Nebraska. He's so bad. He never makes any impact on any plays, never gets a tackle, never gets a sack, he never gets any pressure, he never block shed. I can't believe he has a single digit. I can't believe it. Because I cannot remember any play that Ryan Poppel has made all year besides that one strip sack very early on in the season. Cade Pedshock had a grade of a 38. Again, horrific. David Hopkin had 10 snaps, funny enough, and had a grade of a 40. And other than that, that was the rest of the defensive line. So the defensive line graded really, really bad. But it's not really any better with the defense. You go to the linebackers. Our best graded linebacker was Marquez Watson-Trent, who, again, I gave him credit in yesterday's show. He had a phenomenal ball game. Again, I think it was overshadowed by the rest of the team and how poorly they played, but Marquez Watson-Trent had a really poor start to the season, and he balled out on Friday. He had 11 tackles. Of course, he had that sack. He had a couple of game-changing plays. He got a grade of a 78. Buda Wright got a grade of a 66. He also played pretty decent. I don't think the grade really reflects how well he played. Dasamagola had a grade of a 68. I thought he played decent at times. Vincent Shavers, who only played 7 snaps. So they do say that Shavers played. He got a grade of a 55, and Dawson Merritt also got a grade of a 56. So those are all linebackers. None of them really played too well, except for the stars. I thought all the stars played well in Buda, Marcus Watson-Trent, and Dasamagola. I thought really, out of all the weaknesses, they were probably the brightest point versus the Gophers. And here's what you were waiting for. The secondary. Yikes. Because honestly, I mean, the secondary didn't have a terrible game when it comes to coverage. We only gave 150 passing yards. We're still top 10 in America. I believe we're still top 5 in America on passing yards given up per game, but the tackling was so bad. So let's get into the tackling grades particularly. Andrew Marshall had an overall grade of a 69. His tackling grade, 40. Deshaun Singleton had a grade of a 74, which is pretty solid. His tackling grade was actually an 85, so that's really good. Deshaun Singleton has been balling out this season. Sear Wright had a grade of a 73, tackling grade of a 60, so not terrible for Sear. Again, he stacked some pretty good performances. Donovan Jones, grade of a 50. Overall, a tackling grade of a 25. One of the worst I've seen all season. Again, I'm at the point with Donovan Jones, he can't start going for it because he is barbecue chicken. He gets exposed in man coverage, zone coverage. He can't tackle. He's not physical anymore. Let's get Larry Tarver some snaps, Amari Sanders some snaps, Jameer Khan, anybody but him. Because Donovan Jones has not played well. Rex Guthrie got a grade of a 68. Not terrible. Justin Redd actually played 10 snaps. That's funny enough. He got a grade of a 33, though, so maybe Justin Redd shouldn't play anymore. And then Marcus Buford, who only played 7 snaps, he got benched right after he missed the tackle and wasn't seen again. He got a grade of a 60, which I think is incredibly skewed. He played a lot worse than 60, to put it at that. So that is the defense. Now going on to the offense and their grades. As you'd imagine, it's not much better. Dylan Raiola got a grade of a 58, one of the worst in all of college football from this past week. Again, Dylan didn't play very good. It's not only the offensive line's fault, it's also his fault for refusing to throw the ball away. His vision has been horrendous. His confidence has been horrendous. His deep ball accuracy has been horrendous. His progressions have been bad. He's just declining as a player. And we'll talk about that in a later video this week, but he had a horrific grade. Emmett Johnson graded out with a 65, which I don't think does him enough justice. I thought Emmett played fine, given how badly the offensive line did. He made some breakout plays too. He was really the only reason we could move the football at times. Wide receivers all pretty much got really bad grades around this round 60. The only player who actually graded out well on the wide receiver core was Quinn Clark, who played 4 snaps and got a grade of a 90. Quinn Clark was our highest graded player on the team. That's crazy, man. That says a lot about us versus Minnesota. And then also going to the offensive line, Henry Lateef got a grade of 64. Justin Evans got a grade of 63. And here's where it gets bad. Gunner, grade of a 55, and he gave it 4 sacks officially on the day. Corcoran grade of a 57. Elijah Pritchett was our worst graded offensive tackle with a grade of a 53. And then Rocco Spindler, who only played 10 snaps, got a grade of a 55. So nobody on our offensive line got a grade higher than 65. Gosh, man, it's getting bad over here. It really is. It's getting bad. Yeah, and Tyler Knack played awful too, but Tyler Knack had a grade of, I think, 59. So Tyler Knack's not an option. I know some people are throwing out his name. So those are the Pro Football Focus grades. Yeah, pretty terrible all the way around. But we're on rock bottom. Hopefully, the only way we can go is up. You never know. All right, let's get to all the news from today and the AP poll, all the Big Ten games from yesterday, the implication toward Nebraska, some recruiting news. You got to start things off with what was just announced about 2 hours ago. Florida has officially fired Billy Napier, which I'm very shocked by. Florida hated Billy Napier. I've never seen a fan base revolt against a coach as much as they revolt against Billy Napier. They wanted him gone since the beginning of the year. They've actually went 2-1 over the past 3 weeks. They beat Mississippi State. They beat Texas over the past 3 weeks, and they fired him coming off a win. So weird timing, but they're going into a bye week. I understand it. But Florida fans make Nebraska fans look incredibly tame. We act like Nebraska fans are toxic types. No. The majority of the fan base never wants to fire anybody. Florida wanted to fire this guy after they had some relative success this season. I know they weren't going to, end the season strong, but still. So, those Florida fans are a little bit toxic. But again, Billy Napier, he was a terrible coach. He needed to go. I want to make that very clear. I just thought it was kind of surprising with the timing. But, they're going out. They want Lane Kiffin. Yeah, I don't think you're going to get Lane Kiffin. I think Lane's going to stay right at Ole Miss. But the reason why this is significant toward Nebraska is because of recruiting, because we know that they have somebody we want in the recruiting class. CJ Brahma, former 4-star defensive back recruit who was committed to Nebraska for about a year, flipped over to Florida in June and has not looked back. He said he flipped for 2 reasons. Probably for the money. They offered him a good amount of NIL, and he wanted to win. Well, I don't think you're going to win at Florida, CJ. I don't think you're going to win there. You're going to get a new coach who's really, I think it's not going to be Lane Kiffin. I think it's going to be the South Florida coach, more likely than not. And you're going to be in a rebuild. Do you really want to stick around a rebuild, or you want to come to Nebraska and play as a true freshman? You have your option. And trust me, that bridge is still intact. We've done a good job communicating with him. You never know, he might visit Nebraska soon. So again, just watch out for CJ. Am I saying it's a likelihood? Maybe not. I think he wants to stay home in his heart. I still think he really wants to be a Florida Gator. But man, he should flip. He really should. If he wants to make a business decision for him and he wants to go somewhere with a coach who cares about you and play right away, come back to Nebraska because we need you badly. And you can pair alongside Danny Odom, who's a very good player. And then going on to the rest of Florida's commit to my eyes out for, KJ Ford. We should definitely be considering KJ Ford. He's a borderline top 100 edge rusher. Nebraska has an offer in there, so he's going to be highly coveted by. I expect him to decommit within these next couple hours. Other than that, the recruiting class really isn't that good. There's not a bunch of guys here who Nebraska desperately wanted. Let's look at the 27 class real quick. Yeah, they pretty much have nobody. So CJ, we really just want CJ. Hopefully we can get him, but I'd not be shocked if Nebraska goes after a couple of these other guys. Maybe again, this Kendall Jerville guy who's a defensive lineman. We need some more defensive linemen. Malik Morris, maybe. We'll see. Nebraska has a Flo-Nebraska connection, so we might go back in that state. And then some other firings. Mike Norvell, you never know. I'm recording this and he's not fired, but he might be fired today. You never know. He might be fired tomorrow. He might be fired next week, but they lost to Stanford last night, like 1 o'clock. I was watching the end of that ball game. It's a sinking ship over there. Not only with Mike Norvell, but guess who's on that team? I'm laughing at you, James Williams. I'm laughing at you, Tony White. I'm laughing at you, Terrence Nye. And those boys are going to be looking for new jobs, new destinations, because You thought you were going to a way better place. You were talking all this crap about, the talent's so much better at Florida State. I don't know about that. Oh, you guys just lost to Stanford yesterday. Everybody's going to be gone. So, anyways, I just find that funny. I found that funny. But as for Florida State and their current commits, we might be going after a couple of these guys. Again, Tadarius Hughes is somebody who's committed to them who might flip to Nebraska when it's all said and done. Darrell Bell, I think, could end up, flipping to Nebraska at some point. That's somebody I have my eyes out for. Other than that, again, we'll see. I expect Nebraska to be aggressive here if they do, in fact, fire Norvell, which looks like it's coming. And then also, Wisconsin, at some point, got to do something. They got shut out once again versus Ohio State. They haven't put up points in 3 weeks. Fickell is bringing that program down to the ground quick. This is the worst Wisconsin team we've seen in a very long time. They're going to fire him very soon. I expect it to be probably after next week versus Oregon at this point. But Fickell will be gone. So again, I bring all this to say this. Here's my final thing. Nebraska fans, we always act like, our program's so bad, we should freak out. Again, let's look at the comment section for my video I posted earlier today. If you haven't watched that video, make sure to check it out because it was a big one. But people are freaking out. They're saying Nebraska's not going to win another game. Nebraska will be lucky to win one more game. Lateef needs to start. We might actually lose out. Again, people were saying everything, man. People were saying everything in this comment section. Even on Twitter, people were saying, I can't wait to not watch this game. We're never going to win. This is the last winnable game on the schedule. So I just think Nebraska fans are overreacting. Like, objectively, are we struggling? We absolutely are struggling, guys. But we are not as bad as other programs. So at least relish in that we're not as bad as Florida State. We're not as bad as Wisconsin. There are a lot of programs who are crumbling to the ground right now. Penn State. At least we're not them. At least we're going to make a bowl game this year. So, again, there's always a silver line. I think Nebraska fans just overreact. We're not as bad as the other programs. Trust me on that. I know it looks bad right now, but we have an opportunity to right the ship this week versus Northwestern. So I just find it funny because the Nebraska fans act like we're the worst program in the world. We're not. We're not, guys. Other programs have it worse, trust me, and they're losing constantly. We're still 5-2. As for Northwestern, it's been announced that we will play that game at 11 o'clock on FS1. I don't love playing at 11 o'clock, honestly, because I have to go to those games, and I'll wake up at like 8. I mean, you know me, I don't like to wake up too early. 8 o'clock over to Lincoln. No, it is what it is. At least maybe we get the ball game over with. If we lose, we get it over with. But it's at 11 o'clock on FS1, so we won't play on Peacock. We'll play at Peacock, I'd say, versus UCLA probably. That game will probably be on Peacock. We'll have at least one game on Peacock this year, unfortunately. As for the AP poll, my reaction to it and all the Big Ten games and their implications toward Nebraska, no surprise, Nebraska is no longer ranked. We received 0 votes. Other than that, nothing too crazy here. Vanderbilt's in the top 10. Again, if Vanderbilt can have success, why can't we? If Georgia Tech can have success, why can't we? You just go down the line. If Virginia can have success, why can't we? It's crazy, man. I will tell you this. I do think it's harder to win in the new era of college football with NIL, with the portal, because teams are a lot less deep than what they used to be. Okay, they might have a lot of talent. They might be able to pay for a lot of talent, but still, again, your good players who are on the bench, they're transferring out. So, again, if you go down to your second stringers at any spot, it's a lot worse than what it used to be. So it's a lot more prone for these teams to lose now. It's a lot more prone for, again, off years to happen, where Penn State has an off year or Florida has an off year. So I do think it's hard to win in the modern day college football, even despite the portal. It's easier to win in a short amount of time, if that makes sense. But long term, it's harder to win long term, if that makes sense. Overall, my reaction to all the Big Ten games and their implications toward Nebraska. USC lost yesterday. We play them not this week, but next. They will not be ranked going in that ball game. So, yeah, again, we won't play another ranked team this year. That says a lot. But again, who knows? Again, they still have a very fiery offense with Jay Mayava. King Miller is a third-string running back who's actually played pretty well for Mekhi Lemon. They have an improved defense. I still think it's going to be a very tough game for us. Then we got Michigan, who ran through with Washington. Washington's a really good team, so Michigan's getting a lot better. So at least that loss looks a little bit better on our resume. They're back in ranked. Northwestern, who we played this week, blew out Purdue 19-0. And it should be mentioned that Purdue, the week before, played Minnesota, who we lost to, and they almost beat Minnesota. So you're telling me that Purdue almost beat Minnesota, Minnesota absolutely destroys us, and then the very next week they get annihilated by Northwestern. That does not give us a good sign for Saturday, because that tells us Northwestern's a better team than even Minnesota is. And they're 5-2, by the way. Iowa beat Penn State. We played both these teams. In my opinion, both these teams are terrible. They really are. Both these teams are incredibly flawed. I still think we will beat Penn State at this point. Penn State's so bad. And I understand they have talent. I understand they have Katron Allen, Nick Singleton. They got talent. I'm never disputing that. But at this point, they are so broken. They have a broken culture. They have so many issues on defense. They can't stop the run. They have more issues than we do. Okay, we probably should be Penn State. As for Iowa, I definitely am expecting an Iowa loss unless we fix something out of nowhere here, because Iowa's once again a disciplined team and they know how to beat us, just like Minnesota. So that'll be a tough ball game versus Iowa, no question about it. UCLA beat Maryland. Yeah, it'll be a tough game versus UCLA in Pasadena. I predicted for us to lose to them preseason. I might not change that prediction at this rate because they're looking pretty good and they're winning close ball games too. And then as for the rest of them, any other things interesting? Yeah, Texas Tech lost. That's good. I mean, I don't like Texas Tech because they pay a lot of money for their team. Again, Vandy beat LSU. That was a good game. Nothing else. I mean, there were some decent games yesterday, but nothing crazy. Mizzou beat Auburn. Auburn's probably going to fire Hugh Freeze as well. I mean, Auburn's recruiting class might be cooked as well. Let's look at Auburn's recruiting class real quick. We might go after a couple of these guys. Let's look at Auburn's class. Oh, it's not. I mean, they got a 5-star in there. Okay. Anybody? Oh, they got a guy named Wilson. That's nice. Us Wilson guys got to stick together. Other than that, they got nobody. I don't expect Nebraska to flip any Auburn players. All right, that is the video. And last but not least, Nebraska basketball won an exhibition versus one of the best teams in America, top 10 school BYU, against the best recruit in America, AJ, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, who is going to be the first overall pick. Hey, man, Nebraska ball might be good this year. Hey, I'll cover Nebraska ball. If you guys want me to cover it, I'll cover it on the channel. I will talk about that team. If you guys want it, let me know. Let me know in the comment section. That's what I want to hear. If you guys want basketball coverage this year, especially if we're good this year, I'll cover it. I absolutely will. So let me know that in the comment section. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts down below. Hey, if you made this far, hit that like button and subscribe. As always, folks, go be great. Go Met Roll, and I'll see you in the next one.